Discover this epic ChatGPT mastery through advanced prompt engineering for career success. In this video, you will learn for free and detailed those secrets that experts only keep to sell you courses. We'll dive deep into the world of ChatGPT, starting with a comprehensive walkthrough of its interface and capabilities, tailored for those new to this revolutionary tool. We'll unveil expert tips to supercharge your productivity at work, guiding you through advanced techniques for crafting professional emails, compiling insightful reports, and scripting compelling presentations. Beyond these technical skills, we'll explore how ChatGPT can be a game-changer in enhancing your interpersonal skills, tackling complex challenges, swiftly summarizing extensive documents, and achieving precise translations. But that's not all. We'll also share inspiring examples of how individuals and businesses alike have leveraged ChatGPT to streamline operations, foster creativity, and solve real-world problems with unprecedented efficiency. Whether you're looking to sharpen your professional writing, boost your problem-solving prowess, or simply become more efficient in your daily tasks, this guide will equip you with the knowledge to harness the full potential of ChatGPT. You already know ChatGPT, so let's get right to the point on how you can dive in and start interacting with this versatile tool. Getting started is really easy, and I'm going to walk you through it step by step. First, registration. Go to the OpenAI website and look for the ChatGPT section. Here, you will find the option to register or log in if you already have an account. The registration process is quick. You just need to provide an email address and create a password. You may also be asked to verify your email address to make sure it's really you. Once you've completed the registration and logged in, you'll come across the ChatGPT interface. It's pretty intuitive. You'll see a main screen where your new virtual friend is ready to chat with you. Simply type your question or comment in the text box and press send. ChatGPT will process your message and provide you with a reply in seconds. Okay, I'm going to start by giving you some great hot tips and best practices for using ChatGPT. As you start asking your own questions and engaging in your own conversations with ChatGPT, the things you're going to learn in this quick lesson here are ways that you can get even more out of it, no matter what you're asking for. These are some really great hot tips and best practices I've been using, and it's really made a big difference. So I'm going to walk you through some of these tips. Start with a question. When faced with a new topic or request, begin by asking ChatGPT a clear and concise question. For example, if you need to research enneagrams, you can ask, "What is an enneagram?" Use regenerate response. If the initial response doesn't provide enough information or isn't satisfactory, you can use the regenerate response button to get a different response. This can help you gather more insights or details. Ask for expansion. If you feel the response is too brief, ask ChatGPT to expand on the topic. For instance, you can request, "Can you expand on this?" This can provide you with a more comprehensive explanation. Build on existing information. Take the information provided and build on it. If ChatGPT mentions there are 9 different types of enneagrams, you can follow up with a question like, "What are the 9 types?" Request bullet points. If the information is presented as paragraphs, you can ask ChatGPT to convert it into bullet points for easier readability. For example, you can ask, "Could you make this into bullet points?" Ask for examples. To better understand a concept, request specific examples. For instance, you can ask, "Can you give me an example of someone who is a number 2?" This can make the information more relatable. Generate content. If you plan to create a blog post or report, you can ask ChatGPT to help you write content. For instance, you can ask, "Could you write a blog about enneagrams?" ChatGPT can provide you with a starting point for your content. Brainstorm titles. If you need a title for your content or want creative ideas, ask ChatGPT to generate titles or ideas. For example, you can request, "Give me 5 title ideas for the blog." This can help you come up with engaging and relevant titles. Email writing. One thing that we do all day long is write emails, right? We write a lot of emails. Sometimes our emails are nice and short, and we don't need much, but some might be more involved or more detail-oriented or might need more impact behind them, so to speak, or they're more critical emails. Maybe you're asking for a raise or something like that. So we're going to see how ChatGPT can help us build the building blocks for emails. And then, of course, we want to customize it to ourselves. You know, I don't want to necessarily copy and paste because there's uniqueness to it. But you'd be surprised how ChatGPT can help us be more productive and efficient with our email writing. So let's take a look at that. Alright, so we're at ChatGPT, and we're going to have it make an email for us. And I'm going to give you like few examples here of common things you do all day long. So let's say the first one, or some might be a little uncommon, like asking for a raise, for example. So let's say you're asking if you could work from home more. So let's say, could you write an email asking my boss if I could work from home more and why that is good for the company? A little salesy thing there, right? Now you might really spend a lot of time trying to think about this, and it's already writing. Thinking about this, and like, how do I do this? How do I write this email? How do I make this work? We could start the email with "Dear Boss's" name, hoping this message finds you in good health, reflecting briefly on the increased trend of remote work since the pandemic. The email will outline my enhanced focus and work-life balance achieved by working outside the traditional office setting. Crucially, it posits that permitting more frequent remote work offers numerous advantages for the organization, including cost savings. I am confident that it would continue, suggesting a discussion to explore the full benefits. This initial draft seeks to engage in a conversation about how remote work can positively impact the company and proposes considering a flexible hybrid approach to our work schedule, integrating office presence with remote work days, tailored to our specific needs. So here, it's putting it out into more of a bullet point list, which is easier to read, that you could start adapting that to. I tackled a broad and complex subject to draft an email with ChatGPT's help. For instance, when welcoming a new team member, I might ask ChatGPT craft an introductory email. If I'm the boss, I'll send a welcome note, or as a colleague, simply introduce myself. The generated email might start with "Dear Name, welcome to the team," and include details like the sender's position. It's a customizable template, reminding to add personal touches like "I'm your go-to for onboarding questions," or "reach out to me for finance queries." Next, I considered getting feedback on whether to invest in new project management software. ChatGPT suggested drafting an email to kickstart this discussion, prompting me to include a survey link for team input. This was a clever nudge towards creating a survey, something I hadn't thought of but found valuable. If the initial draft didn't hit the mark, I learned I could refine it by asking for a regeneration or providing more specifics to ChatGPT, ensuring the final message was precisely tailored to my needs. Always starting with a courteous, "I hope this email finds you well," and diving into the topic at hand. So with that, that's one way you can use it for real productivity. Something you might want to try right away is start thinking about some common emails you write and how you might be able to use ChatGPT to help you with email writing to be more productive. So with that, that's one way you can use it for real productivity. Something you might want to try right away is start thinking about some common emails you write and how you might be able to use ChatGPT to help you with email writing to be more productive. Report writing. So, ChatGPT is excellent for crafting brief content like emails, blog entries, and the like. However, what happens when the task at hand is composing a more substantial report? How can we utilize ChatGPT to assist us in outlining and developing these larger documents? Let's explore some examples of this process and discuss possible approaches. Let's focus on the topic of a business case. A business case is a document written to seek approval and funding for a new project, distinct from an actual project plan or implementation. It serves the purpose of obtaining approval. When dealing with a business case, especially if funding is required, it's important to use precise terminology. For instance, if you're unfamiliar with writing business cases, you might ask, "Could you provide me with an outline of a well-written business case?" It's crucial to avoid confusion with terms like business plan, which typically applies to new companies seeking funding. A business case, on the other hand, is about securing approval or funding for a project within your organization. Precision in your request ensures accurate information. So, if you're looking for an outline of a well-written business case, you might ask, what are the different components of that? It's important to note that there are some limitations in the response. For instance, you would typically begin with an executive summary, which could be considered part of the introduction. However, it's essential to include an executive summary, along with other elements like the introduction, problem or opportunity statement, objectives, directives, alternatives, and more. If you'd like more information about what should be included in an executive summary, you can ask, what should be included in an executive summary for a business case? This feature is particularly useful if you prefer not to type extensively, An executive summary serves as a concise overview that highlights the key points of a document. In an executive summary, it's important to include a summary of the problem, as the executive summary should provide a comprehensive review of all the different parts of the document. This information can be used as a guide when crafting the actual executive summary, ensuring that all essential elements are covered without directly copying and pasting from ChatGPT. It's a valuable tool for structuring and organizing the executive summary and can also be used to request additional details or expansions on specific topics as needed, like expand more on what implementation plan or whatever it might be. So maybe I want to say, could you write a research report on social media marketing for a pizza restaurant? Because maybe some types of social media marketing are better for some companies than others, right? So we're going to ask it to do a research report. I've never tried this before, so we're going to see how this works, right? But here's the brief outline of research from social media marketing for a pizza restaurant. Include, you have a section, then you have your introduction, and all this, and backgrounds, and all this. And it's going to keep kind of doing this too. I'm hoping they'll come back with stuff like, here's methodology, different kinds. So this is like a high-level report review on how to basically structure your report. So we've started writing our report, and then maybe you want to expand on the different things based on what you're finding, right? So, or maybe it's not really getting to what I want to, right? What would be the recommendation? So I see how it's built the structure of a broader report. But maybe I'd want to say, how can you use Facebook marketing? Facebook ads for a pizza restaurant, or whatever, or restaurant, since I can't type. So here are a few ways you could use Facebook ads, right? So now I'm building out more detail that might be coming in my report, right? About how it can be targeted promotions and discounts. They give you some examples. Could use Facebook ads to offer a large pizza. Buy one, get one free, But you think about your own business. About, how can I write a Facebook ad? Or something like that. Maybe for your own business, customer engagement promotions, all sorts of stuff. So see, it's covering a lot of ground that I can then build upon that. And then just really kind of go from there in terms of your report writing, right? So there are some examples of when you're thinking about your reports. I'd like you to think now about what reports do you actually write frequently, and how could you use ChatGPT to help you better with your more frequent reports, or maybe some unusual reports as well. Presentation scripting writing. Presentation or speech. ChatGPT can help you outline that, and think about it more thoroughly without, and help you make sure that you get everything covered. So let's do that with an example here. Let's say your manager comes to you, and there's an all-company meeting, and you need to give a speech on the importance of your department to the company. Why your department is important to the company. Just giving a speech can be nerve-wracking itself, but this could help actually write an entire script for you. For example, so we might ask it to write a script. So please write a script for a presentation to the entire company with more detail. The entire company about, and let's say you work in accounting, about the accounting department and its importance to the company. Consider the potential challenge of outlining and structuring a complex topic like accounting. Here's a simplified approach. Imagine you have limited knowledge of accounting, but you're given the task of delivering a brief speech about the importance of the accounting department to your company. Begin by addressing what accounting is and why it's crucial for your company. Keep it concise and suitable for a short speech. Next, discuss the general importance of the accounting department, focusing on universal aspects that apply to most accounting departments. If your accounting department has specific roles or functions that differ from the norm, customize your outline accordingly. You can also include details about key team members in the accounting department and whom to contact for assistance. This outline provides a foundation that you can use to create a script. You can then edit and expand upon it with unique information, such as departmental roles, accounting processes, department hours, and reminders about submitting expense reports on time. This approach can be applied to scripting various scenarios, such as preparing a speech to request a stop sign installation in your neighborhood for child safety. Adjust the content as needed to suit your specific audience, whether it's city council members, county commissioners, or other relevant parties. The script should address the intersection where the stop sign is needed and include a persuasive request for consideration. It serves as a tool to organize your thoughts effectively when advocating for a cause. So, things that are beyond that too. This can be adapted into an email as well. For example, so there you have it. ChatGPT can really be helpful if you give a lot of presentations, or if you don't give a lot of presentations. It can help organize your thoughts, and then you build on that and customize it. In fact, you could just use this example I just used and put in your own department, and boom, you just had a script for your own department right now. Soft skill education. One thing I find ChatGPT to be immensely beneficial for is my own education. Learning about different things and helping myself, whether it's in a work environment or in a personal environment. We're going to talk about the work environment and some soft skills, and we're going to give some examples. Think about areas of your own improvement where ChatGPT might be able to help educate yourself or give you some ideas for personal improvement, for example. So let's look at a couple of soft skills. In this one, we're going to be discussing soft skills. In the next lesson, we'll talk about some hard skills, maybe some technical type skills as an example. But for now, let's start with talking about critical thinking. We'll talk a little bit about oral communication as an example, and we'll wrap up with leading a meeting, just as some examples. Critical thinking is one of the most important things out there right now for businesses and folks that are hiring. So if we look at ChatGPT, we could say, how can I get better at critical thinking? This gets into decision-making and all that too. It's a really broad topic, and it's going to be pulling from lots of resources, so it might take a little extra time. As you can see, it took like an extra second or two. I mean, is that amazing? If you're not at this point saying, oh my goodness, just keep going because we've got more. It'll be great. Then it talks about practical ways you can improve your critical thinking skills. Let's say I've been told by my boss that sometimes I have biases in my decision-making. I could say, what are some common biases in decision-making related to critical thinking? We've got that, but it's bias not in this case that a person would be told that they're racist or don't like a certain gender. It's more of the scientific type bias. You'll see this coming up here, like anchoring bias, for example, when people rely heavily on the first piece of information they receive when making a decision. So if you're taking in lots of information, the first piece might be that's the answer based on that. These are examples of, okay, here are some decision-making biases, and you can look at this and say, do I have any of these biases? And what that might mean. What is confirmation bias? I might say, could you expand on confirmation bias and provide an example? Sometimes I ask it to provide an example, because that helps my learning when I see what's an example of this. Let's start up a new chat, a couple of other ones. Let's say I want to be better at communication. Let's say with oral communication. I might say, what are some great tips if nervous about public speaking? Public speaking is something most people are nervous about. You might have your own thing. If you did, just go back and use ChatGPT and put it in for whatever makes sense for you. Here are a few things you can try if you're nervous about public speaking. Let's say I want to facilitate discussion and encourage participation from all attendees. That sounds nice, but how do I do that? What are some best practices when leading a meeting? Wow, that was some number one typing there. Here are some tips for leading a meeting right. If you do not have much experience with leading meetings, this really lays it out for you on how to lead maybe your first meeting. This is just tips that you can build on, and then you can ask for more to follow up and different tools in there. You can see how I'm educating myself. Talks about open-ended questions and what those are. Encourage people to share their opinions, include the language, and you can ask for more to expand on this or ask for examples. Those are some examples of soft skills that you can ask for, and think about what you want to improve in terms of soft skills. Start using ChatGPT to educate yourself as well. Later, we'll talk about some more technical or even some hard skills that you can use ChatGPT for, like how to do a certain thing in Excel or programming or something. Hard skill problem solving. Let's talk about using some hard skills, like those technical skills. And we're going to use examples that are accessible to everybody, like Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of how ChatGPT can make that better for us. It's not a whole Excel course. I'm just going to do some short examples on that. But if you're a coder or a software engineer, I'm going to show you how ChatGPT can help you with debugging or helping write code. It'll literally blow your mind. Even if you're not a software engineer, you should still watch to see what it can do for you in terms of what you want to do with something like Excel or PowerPoint. So let's do that with ChatGPT. Let's say we use Excel, a spreadsheet in our business. I use spreadsheets all the time, and I love pivot tables, but I always forget how to make them because I don't use them much. You might be an expert in pivot tables, or you might be wondering, what is a pivot table? Let's discover it and show how to make a pivot table. So how do I make a pivot table in Excel? Here it is. It's guiding me on how to do this, which can be a bit complicated in Excel. but at least it gives me a start and guides me step by step. Maybe I'm working in PowerPoint and I wonder, how do I make bullet points better? How can I make my bullet points more graphical, more picture-oriented versus just basic bullet points? There are a few ways you can do this. Use shapes and lines to create bullet points. Use icons. Use images. Use a smart art graphic. This is where I was trying to get to. Smart art graphics is a bit more advanced, something a lot of people wouldn't know about. So how do I use smart art graphics step by step? Use smart art graphic as a bullet point in PowerPoint. For all these steps, select the text you want to turn into bullet points. Go to the Insert tab, select Smart Art, and it'll walk me through how to turn these into more of a graphical unit. Now let's look at something really advanced like coding. I am not a coder, so I wouldn't know what this thing is saying. But let's talk about how to make an HTTP request in JavaScript. These are the type of questions it can answer. How do I make API code? It's going to tell me how to make a request using the UNearest library and Springboard. Give me some things, and then your mind's getting blown if you've not seen this before. If you're a programmer, your mind's just gotten blown, because it's like, wow, they're giving me the actual code. Once the library is included, you can make an API request with the following code. This will send a GET request to the specified URL. It's going to tell me how to do that, to make a request using the UNearest library and Springboard. It's going to give me some things. And this is where your mind gets blown if you've not seen this before. If you're a programmer, your mind's just gotten blown, isn't it? Because it's like, wow, they're giving me the actual what do I type code, the whole bit. Once the library is included, you can make an API request with the following code. And there it goes. This will send you a GET request to the specified URL. And there I've got more coding, more information on there too. This will keep going in there too. Maybe I just want to explain in Springboard. Maybe I want to have more general knowledge on that. It talks about what this is, how it works, and how you can use this code to request APIs and other web services, etc. But this is a very high-level technical skill. This is the type of stuff people spend a long time getting educated on. And here I'm able to get started getting information on this and getting some exposure to this. There are some examples here too. I can even copy the code here. Look at that. I can copy the code to my clipboard so I can paste that code. Are you appropriately freaked out now? If you're a software engineer and you have not seen this before, you must be getting freaked out. I hope you are. It's freaking me out. Maybe it's because I don't know enough. Let's say I had a previous chat where I asked if it could debug this code. Here's another example, and it would be happy to if you gave me the code. So this is the code that I wanted debugged. Let's say I'm going to create this, and I say, let me go back to a new chat and take that and say, could you debug this code? I copy-paste that code, hit enter, and let's see what it says. It's going to analyze my code and tell me I'm having an error. It's debugging for me. There's a potential error in this code related to the error. Y is equal to 0. If you see in here, Y is equal to Z is going to be a problem if you're dividing by Y. To avoid this area, you can add a check before a decision. And here's how you can modify this function to include this check. To make sure that your Y is not being used as a 0 in a division problem that's going to give you a bug error and be a problem. Here's the code with this modification. Again, I could copy this code, and now I have this, and I can start using this and see how this has been added to my ChatGPT library. So those are some examples of hard skills, whether something that a lot of us use like Excel or PowerPoint, and some skills that can get really detail-oriented related to coding, whether it's in Java, Python, or something specific like SAP or Salesforce. That's really more limited by your imagination. I hope you found this interesting because sometimes it's trying to find the answer so you can keep doing your job. This is where ChatGPT can really help with really complex and challenging hard skills. But the key is you've got to give it the information to do so. Don't be like me and say, could you debug this code and not give the code? You've got to give the code. Quickly summarize long documents. One thing you can use ChatGPT for is summarizing large amounts of information. Perhaps you've had to read articles or documents that are incredibly long, and you just want to get a gist of the idea first to see if it's worth continuing to read. Or maybe you just want the summary because you're very busy. I'm going to show you how you can take something longer that's already been created and have ChatGPT boil it down into something easily consumable for us in terms of a summary of that type of article. Here's the example. I have this article that is about 6 pages long on the autofocus system. which, by the way, is like a time management system. Can ChatGPT take this interesting system, the autofocus system for time management and productivity, and boil this down into a summary? So I'm going to see if it can summarize this article. I've already copied it, and I'm going to paste the entire article in there. You can see all this stuff in here. The whole article's in there. I hit enter, and okay, it's got this 6-page, challenging article, which is on a good topic. Don't get me wrong. And it's going to summarize that for us. I just took that 6-page, hard-to-read, poorly formatted article into something that's really just one big paragraph. Maybe that should be broken into other paragraphs, right? So now I've got something that's easier for me to consume. In fact, here's a tip for you. Let's say I want to take this part of my chat where we're talking to a friend, and I'd say, can you make this into a bullet point format? So I'm taking this part because this is what we're chatting here, and I'm asking, can you take this and put this into a bullet point format? It's already started doing that. So it says, sure, here are the steps of focus in a bullet point form. Actually, it's taking the original article. I want a step-by-step thing on how to use this system, this autofocus system, so I can be more productive. As you're looking at that, talking about this system, you work on the item for as long as desired, versus, let's say, the Pomodoro technique. In fact, if I like the system, I'm like, I could then build on that and say, could you compare autofocus to Pomodoro, which is another type of time management technique, right? And 2 does have limits as far as how long you spend on stuff. It says they're both time management methods that can help individuals increase productivity and focus. Then it'll walk right through what the autofocus system is, and then it'll walk through what the Pomodoro system is, and then you could go from there. You could ask, what are the pros and cons of each? And you're really starting to expand on that, because not only is it pulling from the article, but now it's pulling from the wider AI system. So it's not limited to the article, it's pulling from the AI system. Just bear with me. Pros and cons of autofocus, right? So I'm not limiting myself. It's building on this chat, right? So this is nice. Maybe I looked at the autofocus up top here and had a nice summary, and I'm like, well, should I do this? Sure, here are the pros of doing this. But there are some cons too. What are the cons? Well, it may not be suitable for tasks that require a more structured, scheduled approach that need long focus over a longer period of time because it's more like short focused time periods. So it really gives me an idea. Just by doing that, I just learned the autofocus system and maybe how it compares to Pomodoro. For example, using ChatGPT to basically take an article and boil it down into something that's summarized, you can get the information you need quickly. Accurate translation. One interesting feature of ChatGPT is its translation ability, which includes translating languages. For instance, if I want to read something in Chinese or Hindi but don't understand the language, which I don't since I understand English, I could take a document or something from a website and put it into ChatGPT, and it will translate it for me. This goes beyond the capabilities of something like Google Translate, which is better suited for shorter sentences and paragraphs. With ChatGPT, I could take an entire document and have it translated. This can be incredibly useful depending on your situation. For example, let's consider the Economic Times in Hindi, a business website for investors or business-related content in India, but in the Hindi version as opposed to the English version. The site is in Hindi, although some terms, like green hydrogen mission, are in English, but the rest is in Hindi. If I find an article of interest, mostly in Hindi, I can use ChatGPT to help me translate it. First, I would copy and paste the text, avoiding images as ChatGPT focuses on text translation, into ChatGPT, and ask it to translate the document or webpage into English. After adjusting the formatting slightly and ensuring pictures or unrelated formatting are excluded, I can paste the article into ChatGPT. Once entered, ChatGPT processes the text and converts the entire article from Hindi into English, allowing me to understand the content, such as details about the Indian government approving 19.7 billion rupees, about $27 million, for a national green hydrogen mission. This capability means I'm not limited to content available only in English. I can access information in other languages, which might be more interesting from the source material. For instance, I'd prefer to learn about the mission in India from an Indian reporter's perspective, rather than getting a brief from a US site that might not provide as much information. This translation feature could be useful for personal reasons, like receiving a letter from a relative in the old country, or for business purposes. ChatGPT can quickly translate an article from Hindi to English, and while I cannot be sure if the translation is 100% accurate, it appears to be quite precise, even correctly translating names. This capability of ChatGPT in terms of translation is truly amazing. If you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it for you, don't forget to leave your powerful like and tell me what you would like to see in my next video of this style. I want to bring you the best you can learn about technology and artificial intelligence. Ready for more captivating insights and in-depth explorations? And if you are eager to keep learning about topics like this and more tech news, we encourage you to see our video on the 30 gadgets to another level, the best finds of 2023. See you there.